Hey, it's Ellie. Welcome back to another video, or hello if you are new. Today I am back in Northshore Zoo working on finally an actual habitat that, was planned to have animals in it from the beginning. So, what I am working on today is the maple farm with the American Standard donkeys and the chickens as well, which were kind of a last minute addition. I didn't intend to put them originally because they're not a breed of chicken that's native to New England, but I figured, chickens, like farm animals, don't necessarily have to be native to the area because they're domesticated. So I gave myself a little bit of leeway with that. Otherwise, though, all my animals are native to the area and would, live naturally. As I mentioned, this and one other habitat is the only habitat in my game, in the zoo, I should say, that have actual sort of barriers that are meant to keep the animal in. Even this one doesn't have some barriers on it because it's kind of like a cliffside, but the animals actually can't escape over the cliffside, so it's all right. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to be working on today. I don't have much to say about the build. What I actually want to talk about in this episode, as I mentioned in the last one, is I want to just go over what I would like to see in Planet Zoo 2. Because the Planet Zoo 2 game was announced recently. I don't think there's a date yet. I think they just said that they're going to give us more info at some point, like next year. But yeah, so here's what I'm feeling. I talked all about in the last episode how I could care less about what kind of animals. I'm happy with any animals, so that's not really a concern of mine. What I would love to see in the game going forward is a better conservation focus. I think they did a good job with some kind of base, like introducing the idea of conservation in the way that they did in this game. Making it really simple was a good move. But now I think with the second iteration of this game, they could make an option. It could even be optional, to expand on that into more like realistic conservation. So, for example, something huge that I would love, love, love to see with some of these animals that I don't know, do we have any animals that would fit this right now in the game? Maybe not. So there's a whole program in zoos where they take in wild animals that are not necessarily endangered, but are often impacted by human activity, right? So one of the examples that immediately springs to mind is manatees at actually the Columbus Zoo in Ohio, which is really random. You wouldn't think manatees would be in the middle of the continental US, but they are. The show Secrets of the Zoo, which focuses on the Columbus Zoo, and it's like two different areas that it has: the safari, the wilds area, and then the actual zoo. It talks about this program that it has where it takes in manatees that have been injured by boats or whatnot off the coasts, especially down south, like near Florida, and it will take them in and bring them in with the permanent manatee residents that are there for whatever reason that couldn't be released back into the wild. And they will kind of introduce this rescue manatee into the pod, and it'll live and rehabilitate, and they'll make sure that it's good to go, it's healthy, they'll put a tracker on it, and then they bring it down to Florida and release it into another pod there. And they kind of like work, and they have the biologists and the marine biologists and all that, like making sure that the pod that they try to introduce it to would be like receptive and all these things that are really complicated. But ultimately, on the zoo's end, the zoo needs a place for animals to be and rehabilitate. And I think that that would be a really cool mechanic to bring into the game. So like, if there were animals that you kind of knew going in would be brought in temporarily, I think that would be really fun. And it would have to be like a whole... I want this in every iteration of the zoo. Like, it would be easy even now, maybe, for it within the game to make scenarios, and maybe there even are a scenario or two that kind of have this situation in them, where, like, the animal comes in and then you release it to the wild. Like, that's easy enough to do in a scenario, but I want this sort of mechanic in all the modes. Like, I just want it to be a feature of zoos, that one of the ways that sometimes you'll just get a pop-up notification like, oh, injured animal found, and is requesting, you know, like the wildlife controller, the, you know, the whatever government organization is requesting temporary relocation for this animal, can you assist? And then you can say yes or no, and the animal comes in, and you have to be mindful of the, you know, genetics at play, making sure that there is no breeding pairs or breeding mates available to this rescue animal, or maybe making sure that there is a breeding pair. Maybe that's part of the program, is to take in rescued animals and somehow involve them in a mating program, testing their genetics and whatever. Like, I think that would be a really fun mechanic to have in the game, that maybe even you have to build your zoos in mind with the possibility of having animals, rescue animals, come in that you don't want to integrate with your like permanent herd, or maybe that you have to integrate to with your permanent herd. You know, it would just be a cool... I feel like it would make a zoo really dynamic if you have to think about these things. Like, if for example, when I lived in New York, the local zoo, it has 2 separate enclosures for the male and female tiger, and they're never together. They do rotate them between the 2 habitats, because I believe one is a little bit bigger, and then just the one is in the public view, so they rotate them out frequently. But, you know, it's kind of interesting to think about those things. And I feel like right now the game doesn't really encourage anything like that. You could sort of make it for yourself if you wanted to. Like, that's what I mean, that the base features are there. They just need the system to like encourage this sort of gameplay behavior like that. So that's something I would really like. Rescue rehabilitation animals, temporary animals that you would plan to eventually release to the wild. Another feature that I would really like is like a better breeding program for conservation. So like, just a little bit more in-depth things. And I really wouldn't even mind if it was as simple as like pop-ups that sort of prompt you through the process, that you literally just have to hit OK. I still think that would be interesting. I wish they would do something more in depth. I don't think I would ultimately be happy with just some pop-ups that you have to hit okay to, but you know, I think there could be some cool elements or animations along with that where, so for example, I'm gonna take another real life example, the Condor program. I think that's in the San Diego Zoo. They have one. I'm sure they have some all over, but yeah, so with the birds, the condors, they breed them in captivity, and then I think they do this whole thing where they like the animals lay their eggs in the hatchbox, and then they kind of lure the bird out. They steal the eggs, they replace them with fake eggs, then eventually they go in and they do another swap so that the real eggs are back in the hatchery box when they're ready to hatch. It's just because they want to ensure that they're like properly taken care of in the temperature and all that, especially given that a lot of these animals are not in their like native temperature range. They have to be extra careful with the young and eggs and all that stuff. So anyway, yeah, so they hatch them, they raise them. They're pretty hands-off with the birds as far as I know, because birds are kind of weird if they interact with humans a lot. And then eventually they do try to release them back into the wild. And I think they have a huge success rate with the way that they've developed their program, but it's taken a lot of sort of trial and error to get there. And so I would love if there was similar programs, even if it's just for 1 or 2 species that this is like realistic for, to have, as I said, say they go as simple as possible and it's just pop-ups telling you that like, oh, Condor Joe has, you know, or Josephine, I guess I should say, has laid some eggs in the hatchery, and should the vet go swap the eggs or something, and you hit yes, and then there's a little animation where the veterinarian goes into the enclosure and like swaps the eggs, and now the fake eggs are in with the condors and the real eggs are in whatever vet facility that they make. And you can even like go in the vet facility, maybe there's like a little incubator, a little hatchery thing, because there actually was this whole hatchery in, where was I, in the Boston Zoo, in the New England Franklin Park Zoo, yeah, at the Franklin Park Zoo, in like the petting zoo area, in the barns and near the chickens, there's a whole hatchery, and you can just kind of walk through the building and see the hatchery behind the glass. Like, how cool would it be just to have like a whole breeding, like, okay, idea, like a vet surgery building, but it's just for breeding. So it has like a hatchery, it has little incubators for smaller like mammals and things. Like, how cool would that be, you know? And you could go in and see, whenever you have a baby animal that would be in there, you could kind of go in and see it in its newborn state, and it could be the most simple little animation, or not even, like, it could barely move, you know? It wouldn't have to be something super elaborate, and I think it would still just make the game feel like it has so much life to it if you're like really involved every time the animals have offspring, and in the way that a real zoo would be, that it's like a huge event in a zoo every time an animal gives birth. And so I wish they would kind of focus in on that in this like conservation thing that I want. So yeah, those are two things that I just feel would add, for me personally, so much to the game. But that's about the end of the episode, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. I post new videos every Tuesday and Saturday for Planet Zoo, not the Long Dark. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!